Where does every second TV set on the planet come from? Where are the most popular movies and music made nowadays? What country has almost no crime? That's right, we're talking about South Korea. In just one generation, thanks to an economic miracle, Korea has transformed from a third world country to one of the most technologically advanced countries. But every miracle has its price. According to statistics, the country has the highest number of suicides, the population is unhappy, and 75% of young people dream of leaving Korea. This is something that will not be written about in any travel guide. In the next 10 minutes, we will tell you how a country with no resources became the world's 10th largest economy. But at the same time, it made its people some of the most miserable in the world. How can one city be so good and so bad at the same time? Are you with us? Then let's go. To begin with, to understand how Korea has achieved such economic success, let's look at where it started. And the starting position was, let's say, very weak. For most of the first half of the 20th century, South Korea was under Japanese occupation. The population had no education and no access to highly skilled labor. Only 22% of people could read and write. After Japan left, the country was divided into two camps, South and North Korea. The first one is supported by the United States, the other by the Soviet Union. And after the North attacked the South, the war destroyed almost all industry and infrastructure. The economy was mostly reduced to agriculture. At that time, South Korea was poorer than some African countries. Surprising, isn't it? But what did they do, you may ask? And we will answer you. Here are a few steps that made economic growth possible. The government decides to transform the economy from agricultural to industrial. To do this, they rely on family-owned businesses, chaebol. It is convenient for the government to negotiate with several reliable families that have already proven themselves in business. The companies receive any support from the state. Chaebol initially covered almost all areas of activity. For example, Samsung was involved in dried fish, vegetables, and noodles. Then sugar, textiles, and insurance. Today, it produces TVs, smartphones, chips, and ships. The largest container ship in the world is from Samsung. They even build skyscrapers. As companies began to grow, they needed highly qualified specialists. This is how education fever began in the country. The number of educational institutions and specialists was growing very fast. The government relied on its only resource, people, and also on their incredibly hard work. Even the Japanese, who are considered to be workaholics, cannot compare with Korea in terms of labor productivity. Koreans have only one day off a week. They work 10 to 12 hours a day, and 90% of senior and middle management employees work overtime without any extra pay. The last step is to invest in technology development. Today, Korea and Israel are world leaders in terms of investment in their own science. Through these investments, Korea began capturing markets. For example, the first mass-market MP3 player was produced by a Korean company. They also presented the first tablet computer. So, chaebol, education fever, incredible hard work, and investments in technology have made the Korean economic miracle, or the miracle on the Han River, as it is also called, a reality. But what went wrong? The answer is simple. The factors we mentioned above are, unfortunately, now destructive for Korean society as a whole. Today, chaebols altogether account for 85% of the country's GDP, but they provide only 10% of all jobs. This means that large companies hardly need new employees. On the other hand, due to the educational fever, the number of people with higher education has increased 4 times in the last 20 years alone. As a result, almost no one needs graduates. Only the best of the best are hired. Those who are left behind do not want to do manual work because it is poorly paid. And what do we have? The Korean economy is booming, and at the same time, young people are facing high unemployment. To understand how they feel, we need to talk about the education system in general. Koreans have to work hard to get an education. The education system in Korea is the most competitive in the world. Children from the age of 5 study for 8 to 10 hours a day. The government even had to ban private lessons after 10 p.m. The grade of A in a test is given not to those who answered all the questions correctly, but to those who did it best. The day of the unified exam is called the most important day in a Korean's life. It is considered the most difficult exam in the world and lasts 8 hours. Even airplanes cannot fly during the exams so as not to distract students. After that, Koreans face high competition when applying to universities. 120 people for one place in a top university is not enough. And when you have come all this way, you are likely to face unemployment. Competition, competition, and more competition. That's what Koreans face from birth. There is another industry where the competition is incredible. Millions of young people dream of it, and it brings in a lot of money for the state. This is K-pop culture. You are probably all familiar with BTS. It has billions of views, records in the Guinness Book, performances at the UN Assembly, and much more. Their concerts and merchandise bring $4.6 billion to the Korean economy. This is almost like the economy of entire countries. There are schools in Korea that train idols, the leaders of K-pop groups. In some of them, classes last 20 hours. At the same time, young performers remain poor in their first years because of strict contracts with agencies. Artists have to pay back money for almost everything, even food. You can only earn money at the very top, so mid-level performers do nothing but pay off their debts. That is why 75% of young people dream of leaving Korea, because of the above problems. Are you still with us? Then subscribe to our channel. There's a lot of interesting stuff coming up. Let's get back to the chaebols. With them, the country has raised its economy very quickly. For example, today, Samsung is the 5th part of the entire Korean economy. But what do ordinary employees feel when working in large companies? Until 2018, the country had a 68-hour working week. Currently, the bar has been officially lowered from 68 to 52 hours. As we have already said, to get into such a company, you have to overcome a lot of competition. But when a Korean gets into such a company, he or she faces a lot of pressure and stress. They are promoted primarily because of loyalty, not because of their performance or results. As a result of extreme social pressure, Koreans are among the unhappiest nations in the world. At the same time, the country has a very high number of suicides. By this indicator, Korea ranks first in the world. Suicide in Korea is the main cause of death for people under 40. There are a lot of suicides among stars and famous people. Even former President Roh Moo-hyun did it because of corruption charges. The reasons for suicide are different: depression, online bullying, destroyed reputation or career, too much workload. Koreans pay a lot of attention to public opinion. They are always interested in what others think of them. Eternal overtime, pressure from family and society, lack of vacations. What else do you think this can lead to? To the fact that Koreans drink the most among non-European countries. According to statistics, every resident of the country drinks 366 cans of beer a year. And the most popular alcoholic beverage in the world is Korean soju. In corporate culture, there is even a term, hosik, which means having a drink with your boss or colleagues after work. So, the problems we told you about in this video are the price of Korea's economic miracle. The government recognizes this and is trying to fix the situation. But is it possible or not? Write what you think in the comments. Make sure to watch our next video where we will tell you about the downside of the most conservative country on the planet, Saudi Arabia.